Garry Hnatowich from ICDC. I'm the Research Director for the organization. Today we're going to talk about a study that we've got going in conjunction with a number of the other agri-ARM sites. In fact, the principal investigator on this project is Amber Wall, who's with the Wheatland Conservation Association in Swift Current. She is the principal investigator of this. There's 3 other sites in addition to Swift Current. There's Scott, the Conservation Learning Center at PA, and the Northern Applied Research Farm at Melford. All 4 of us are involved in this study, and the intent is to look at annual forages in crop rotation. In particular, this is following up some work of Dr. Gillian Bernard at the Ag Canada Research Station in Swift Current. And we are looking at whether there is a benefit of these annual legumes in terms of soil health, for one thing, and whether we can move away from annual forage crops and look at the potential for polycrops, blends and mixtures of various things for forage production. On a couple fronts there. Can we reduce our reliance on chemical fertilizers to get the yields and the quality of that forage to where we want it? And is there a benefit of moving away from a monocrop to a polycrop in terms of weed management strategies? So that's the intent of this study. We've got a variety of different blends in here. And I am simply going to read out some of the blends that we do have because I haven't got this memorized to any extent. We've got 7 different treatments in here. The first is just basically a monocrop, and we're using Alberta Advantage barley as our forage crop for that. So single monocrop. Then we start looking at blends. The next one is what we call a balanced blend, and we're looking at Persian clover, barley, and groundhog radish in terms of the mixture. The third one is a nitrogen fixing blend, and that's where we look at Persian clover, hairy vetch, and a forage pea. The fourth treatment is what we call simple balanced, and it's got the Persian clover, the barley. We're throwing in haymaker oats onto this one, and we've got the groundhog radish. Fifth treatment, we're looking at a weed control mix, and in this one we've put together Persian clover, barley, oats, groundhog radish, the tillage radish, and Winfred radish. So 3 types of radish species in there. Treatment number 6, we're looking at what we call a complex balance mix, and that's got Persian clover, hairy vetch, barley, oat, the groundhog radish, and the Winfred radish in it. And then finally, treatment number 7 is what we call a complex soil amended mix. And it's got the Persian clover, the hairy vetch, the barley, the oat, corn, millet, groundhog radish, and Winfred radish. So a variety of species. And if we take a look at, a couple of things that we've noticed, all of the treatments received at the start of the year received 45 pounds of nitrogen as a sideband application. So not enough nitrogen to really knock off the fixation of the legume species that we've got in here, but enough to sustain some yielded potential of the complexes as a whole. So one of the things we've noticed, we've got a decent 45 pounds of nitrogen. That's a limited amount under irrigation by any stretch of the imagination, but we've got some decent looking yield in here, I think. And certainly in terms of the weed control, we've done some weed species in here, and adjacent to this study, we've got some clovers that we spent an ungodly amount of time this year hand weeding. So the weed population in this field is high, and yet when you get into some of these complexes in here, our weed control or suppression has been pretty remarkable. So I'm looking at this, as really, one of the things that jumps out at me immediately is for producers with organic production. This could be a very nice way of looking at suppression of weeds. This study, we will do a second-year follow-up on. So these plots, wherever the plots are, we will come in and seed wheat on top of these plots next year. The intent originally earlier on was to look at soil ecology. AAFC at Swift Current, we were going to soil sample these, and we were going to look at short-term potential of these polycrop type of mixtures on soil health and soil ecology. You know, the microflora that is in the ground. Can we change those under the short term, you know, species to the benefit of the field as a whole? Unfortunately, with COVID situation this year, Canada is really on a shutdown type of basis, and those samples were not collected because there was no one there to handle at this time. So unfortunately, we lost that part of the aspect of the study, but who knows, maybe we'll do some follow-ups on these in future years, and with the coupling of, as I said, Dr. Gillian Baynard at Swift Current to help us and assist us in this study. Anyway, let's look at a couple of the species. What you're looking at in front of us right now is the nitrogen fixing mixture that we've got, and this is a complex of Persian clover, hairy vetch, and forage pea. And the forage pea we used in this one is Leroy. And you can see some peas in here, you know, that are forming. Certainly the vetch and the Persian clover is in here. But, you know, it is a vigorous stand. You know, and I suspect the biomass, you are looking at it the day we are about to actually harvest these species. So a decent stand of forages in terms of the legume species. We come next to it, and we've got the balanced mixture. This has got the Persian clover, the groundhog radish, and there's Advantage barley in here. And again, you can see the barley in here. You know, the radish species is evident. And if we dig in here, you can find the Persian clover easy enough too. So decent looking stand. This is the complex. So this is the most complex species we've got. We've got 8 different species in here. Certainly the oats you can see is in here. There's the barley in here. We've got the vetch. We've got Persian clover. We've got a couple radish species. We did have corn and millet. Millet is apparent in here. Maybe the one thing that you cannot see and is difficult is the corn really was outcompeted in here. It is, you know, if you dig hard enough, you can find some, but of the species that did not take off, I would say the corn is the one that we could probably eliminate. Originally, it was probably being put in because of the yield potential for forage corn, you know, the biomass that it could produce, but it just simply could not compete with the other species in here. We've got our monocrop barley, and then we move into, so that's our control treatment. We will compare all of these treatments to the material that we've got in here. This is our weed control mixture. Obviously we've got the oats and the barley that you can see in here. We've also got Persian clover, and this is where we've got the 3 types of radish that are growing in here. And again, if you dig in, those species are apparent and they are in there. We've got, this is our complex balance. So this has got 6 species, including the clover and the vetch. Again, the oat and the barley, and then we've got 2 radish species in here. And again, you know, the stand is upright. All of the plants are holding each other up, so we're not seeing a lot of lodging in any of this material this year. And then finally, our species where we're looking at a simple balanced mixture of a clover, the barley, the oats, and there's 1 form of radish in here. As I say, we are about to, as soon as we complete filming this, we are going to be cutting this for our forage harvest. We will mark these sites out so that we can reseed directly on top of them next year as a follow-up. And stay tuned for the winter months where we will talk about the results of this program.